Okay, I just want to talk about this earthquake in Oklahoma. There's also an earthquake today. I just mentioned earthquake so much, there was lots of earthquake foreshadowing. Now we're starting to see some of it. Just some interesting things about this Oklahoma earthquake. Yesterday it was on February 13th, 2016, a magnitude 5.1. Very interesting, the date numerology, 2 plus 13 plus 20 plus 16 adds up to 51, and we got a 5.1 earthquake in Oklahoma. Oklahoma in gematria equals 31. If you take out the 20 and you add up the date, it adds up to 31. Also, if you just add them up individually, 2 plus 1 plus 3, and so on, it equals 15. Interesting, the earthquake happened at 12:07, but CNN makes sure that they put in the 107 reference it here, that is 107 Eastern Time. If you write out the word earthquake, earthquake equals 107. Also in numerology, you take out the 0, so 12:07 is just like 127. That sticks out because May 6th this year in 2016 is the 127th day. Also 127 is the 31st prime, so Oklahoma equals 31, just the 127 stuff. Talked a lot about the number 56 being associated with bad things, except for the Broncos won the Super Bowl, and that was their 56th season, so who knows? This is the first time I actually seen it with something good. Anyway, the most powerful ever earthquake in Oklahoma was in 2011, and it was a 5.6 magnitude. Even if you take 5.6 and add it 5.1, it adds up to 10.7, similar to 107. Also, there's been a lot of 1985 Bears coding in Chicago, right? Chicago equals 46. The 85 Bears won, scoring the Super Bowl, scoring 46 points using the revolutionary 4-6 defense. Just interesting that Oklahoma is the 46th state. Just talked a lot about that coding to the Chicago Bears. So it also became a state 98 years ago, and it's located on 98 degrees west. CNN gave us this video here that's 98 seconds long, or a minute 38. Today is also the first day of Lupercalia, a Roman festival where they celebrate and sacrifice the wolf, the she-wolf who supposedly suckled Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome. Interesting, in gematria, Michigan Wolverines equals 98. They just got Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh equals 98. Tom Brady, a former player, equals 98. Even became a starter in the year 98. Brady Bunch equals 98. Remember the Snickers commercial, the Brady Bunch commercial last year for the Super Bowl? Snickers equals 98, just like Lupercalia. It's all about the wolf. Michigan Wolverines even upset Purdue yesterday. I mean, come on. Purdue had 56 points. They're called the Boilermakers. Boilermakers equals 56. Purdue equals 31 and 85 the big way. This loss made them 8-5 in the Big Ten. If you add up Purdue Boilermakers in gematria, it adds up to 213, just like the date yesterday, 213. Michigan had 61 points, 61. In gematria equals 131 and 41, just like the word Super Bowl. Michigan Wolverines even equals 206 the big way. Purdue now has a 20-6 record. Yesterday was also just a super interesting day. We had a lot of interesting stories with the same numbers. So John Calipari was ejected at the South Carolina game. Interesting because the worst ever East Coast earthquake was in Charleston, South Carolina. It really stuck out to me, but the gematria of this, so South Carolina Gamecocks equals 89 and 233. 233 is the 51st prime. Just matching the date numerology of yesterday, 51. Also, Kentucky won the game, scoring 89 points, 89 to 62. South Carolina Gamecocks equals 89. Also just kind of stuck out to me, we've been seeing the 22 a lot since the Super Bowl again. Kentucky was ranked number 22. Remember in the Super Bowl, TJ Ward recovered the ball that Cam Newton easily could have jumped on but didn't. TJ Ward equals 22. Then number 22, Anderson for the Denver Broncos, scored the 22nd point with 3:08 left in the fourth, pretty much solidifying the game for the Broncos. Interesting, the total score of this game was 89-62. If you add it up, it's 151. I mentioned a lot of stuff with 151, with earthquakes, also the assassination of Obama. Also, the Gamecocks play in Columbia, South Carolina. Just been seeing a lot of Columbia references. There's even an article on CNN about how people in America spell Columbia wrong. The South America Columbia, it's with an O, but people always spell it with a U. Just a pretty pointless article, but it was like a headline article on CNN. Even had like the Missouri Tigers hunger strike this year. They play in Columbia, Missouri. The Miss Columbia lost the crown to Philippines because of Steve Harvey. Tons of other stuff with Columbia. Also, I remember this year when Michigan played BYU, BYU was ranked number 22. Michigan beat them 31-0, and then Michigan became ranked number 22 after they won that. John Calipari in Gematria is 116-62. Interesting, the article said he was thrown out after 146 seconds. They could have said 2 minutes and 24 seconds instead of 146 seconds. It's kind of strange that they would report it that way. But there's a reason that they did that. It's because the earthquake in Oklahoma was Fairfield, Oklahoma, which equals 146. Also, in regards to the first day of Lupercalia, and I'm telling you, somehow it is coded to the movie Teen Wolf like no other. The main character in the movie Teen Wolf that Michael J. Fox plays, his name is Scott Howard in the movie. Scott Howard equals 146. Also, when Calipari got thrown out, the score was 5-2, like the 52 stuff. But this year in 2016, 5/25 is the 146th day. This number is super special, 52-25. Lots to do with the royal family. Queen Elizabeth became queen in the year 52 at the age of 25. Princess Charlotte last year in 2015 was born on 5/2. We also got this story yesterday, the deadly I-78 Pileup in Pennsylvania. Interesting, it says there's 60 vehicles involved. 60, or if you write out 78, like the interstate it was, 78 equals 60. It even says Pennsylvania Highway. This is interesting. It says Pennsylvania Highway. That adds up to 98 and 233. Once again, the 51st prime, and also Lupercalia equals 98. Yesterday was the first day of Lupercalia. It's also the 44th day of the year. Lupercalia, the small way, adds up to 44 even. The word earthquake, the small way, adds up to 44. It even said here, a driver involved told CNN the weather on Interstate 78 near Fredericksburg was a prime factor. For whatever the reason, I just looked up the prime factorization of 78. So it's literally 2, 3, and 13. Just kind of interesting. It's only 3 numbers, and literally it could make the date 213. It doesn't have to mean much. But I mean, look at this. Fredericksburg. Fredericksburg equals 146, just like Fairfield, Oklahoma. John Calipari ejected after 146 seconds. I've talked about the X theme. I made a video on the X theme and DMX and the X Files and the X at the Super Bowl. And yesterday when I turned on the TV, on MTV, the movie Project X was on. Just interesting, if you write out Dish Network, it equals 56 and 146. If you write out 146, it equals 56 and 146. If you write out Fredericksburg, Pennsylvania, it equals 127 and 298. Remember, 127th day is 5/6 this year. I even talked a lot about blackouts in tons of videos previously before the Super Bowl, even way back to last fall and whatever. I mentioned a lot of foreshadowing of blackouts. But there's also been a lot of weather-related whiteouts this year due to the winter weather and the snow blowing. So just interesting, that was the cause of this wreck, it said. It was a whiteout. Just once again, too, the black versus white theme. Whiteout equals 40 and 121. The word revelation equals 121. It was on mile marker 7.5 on I-78. If you write out Interstate 78, it equals 101, just like the word Philadelphia. Just mentioned lots of stuff foreshadowing Philadelphia. I just have a feeling there's something to do with an East Coast earthquake in Philadelphia. Lots of foreshadowing to it. But 7.5, the reason it stuck out is because Philadelphia is located on 75 degrees west. Then today we got this story on CNN. The cliff collapses. Cliff collapses after earthquake strikes near Christchurch, New Zealand. Interesting, Christchurch equals 138. Just like if you write out cliff collapses equals 138. Just the other day when I made the DMX and the X theme video, I talked about how DMX's real name was Earl Simmons, and I didn't know what 138 stood or for or whatever. Earl Simmons equals 138. Even in the Oklahoma earthquake, we got the 98-second video, but it's also a minute 38. And today's the second day of Lupercalia. Lupercalia equals 98. Interesting, too, is a 5.8 magnitude earthquake today. 5.8. 58, 85 have been all over earthquakes. Richter scale equals 58, invented by Charles Richter, who died at the age of 85 in 1985. His full name adds up to 109. Just interesting. They give us a 109-second video. If you write out Philadelphia earthquake, it equals 109. I also mentioned 109 a lot with Barack Obama, how he went to Omaha, Nebraska right after his State of the Union speech. And he gave it, Omaha, Nebraska equals 109. He gave a speech at Baxter Arena that equals 109. The last biggest East Coast earthquake was a 5.8 in Mineral, Virginia. The previous one before that was a 5.8 in Cornwall, Messina in 1944. But the worst one ever, like I said, in Charleston, South Carolina in 1886. It happened exactly 58 years and 5 days before this one. Also, the Great San Francisco earthquake in 1906 happened 109 years ago. The 109th day of the year this year is 4/18 or April 18th. The date numerology adds up to 58. The big one equals 85. Seismograph equals 58. The study of seismology goes back to 585 BC. Interesting, too, the last time that Christchurch had a severe earthquake was 2/22 of 2011. If you go to today, it's a span of 1,818 days, 1818. Just really sticks out. We've seen a lot of the 18 and 81 during the Super Bowl. Manning in his 18th season wears number 18. The first play of the Super Bowl was a pass to number 81, Owen Daniels, for 18 yards. Chicago earthquake equals 81. I don't know if that's possible or what, but just seems interesting. There's lots of foreshadowing to the 85 Bears and earthquakes. So Chicago earthquake 81. If you write out 18, it equals 46 and 73. Chicago equals 46 and 37. Today's date numerology is 52 then, and it's also Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day equals 52 and 151. So, this is what I'm talking about. They make stories, whether these numbers are true or not. They're making stories to fit the numbers. And they always do this. It comes in spurts where they literally, the same numbers pop up in tons and tons of stories for a significant amount of time, and then it might switch up to a different number. So definitely coded, trying to figure out what all the coding actually means, and who knows. So whatever, have a good one.